So, Mr. Chairman, as you understand, I am the director of USCIS. I obviously am going to do my best to get back to you.
There's no excuse for you appearing before this committee unprepared to ask or to answer questions that you were specifically informed would be asked.
And
this is a dereliction of duty, among other things, and frankly, a contempt of this Congress.
We're waiting for the next report to confirm that these things are still going on because it wasn't fixed. Mr. Chairman, my time's up. I'll yield back.
Mr. Chairman, can I respond to the question?
Briefly, sure.
Yes.
There was no question because I asked questions you couldn't answer, so that's why I gave a statement. There was no question for you, ma'am.
I tell you, in some sarcasm, I want to almost thank you guys for the job you have done because you totally blew it. The American people are sick and tired of what they've seen over the past 4 years. And you should all be fired. Well, you will be here shortly because the American people said, we ain't going to tolerate this anymore.
Thank you, Director, for
There you are.
the work that you and your team continue to do. And any shortcomings or issues with your team, I believe, are because we are asking you to do things that the law doesn't allow you to do. And that's a failure of us to put in place a comprehensive immigration policy that reflects the demand to come to America. And I just want to say to my colleagues, as we go into this new Congress, where I am and where I think many of my colleagues are, we want security at the border. And where we can work with you to find security at the border, you will find in me an ally and a partner who will want to bring security at the border. When it comes to violent, undocumented immigrants, I want them out of the United States. I personally think they should serve their sentences if they are in custody here before removing them and sending them back to their countries because you risk that they could come back. But if there are folks who have hurt people, put others in harm's way, have committed sexual assault, they should be gone. And I don't think you're going to find a lot of people on our side who are arguing for violent, undocumented immigrants to stay in the United States. My concern, though, and I hope the director can speak to this, is that we also have a workforce crisis in America. We have a workforce crisis as it relates to agriculture. We have a workforce crisis as it relates to hospitality. We have a workforce crisis as it relates to food and beverages, particularly our restaurant industry. And so, Director, I ask if there is going to be a massive deportation, as the president-elect has said he's going to do, what type of pressures will that put on you all to address and process legal immigration pathways? Could we actually harm ourselves if we don't do this right, if we don't prioritize violent offenders, if it's just a grab-all, catch-all, could we affect our ability to attract the best and brightest to take the jobs where we have vacancies in the United States?
Thank you for that question. Legal immigration in many industries can often be the backbone of that industry. You noted some of them, and it is our job at USCIS to administer the lawful immigration system. The more effectively we can do that, the better we can assist our economy at all levels where immigrants are needed in certain labor forces.
Our staff asked a series of straightforward questions to get some basic data figures back in September. Your office has simply stonewalled us. We informed you to be prepared to answer those questions today, so there's no excuse for further evasion or obfuscation. So I'm going to ask you now again, how many aliens who have entered the country pursuant to CHNV programs since October of 2022 have changed their immigration status?
First, let me start by saying I highly value the role that Congress plays in our oversight. I once was here. It's an odd position to be sitting here.
I appreciate that,
but I
it's
appreciate
not an answer to the question that we've been asking since September. So could you please answer the question, how many aliens who've entered the country pursuant to the CHNV program since October 2022 have changed their immigration status?
So I understand that just before this hearing, in preparation for this hearing, understanding the importance of returning those responses to you, you should have received a response to various questions that were requested in September.
We received a response to one question. I again repeat my question. For the third and final time, how many of aliens who've entered the country pursuant to CHNV since October 2021 have changed their immigration status?
At the moment, I don't have those numbers with me, but
This is
again, I will-
outrageous. How many aliens who've entered the country pursuant to CHNV since October 2022 remain CHNV parolees?
Again, I don't have those numbers with me
You were asked these
specifically.
questions in September. You were told in advance of this hearing that they would be asked again, and you were advised to have answers for us. These are basic questions of data. I'm astonished and appalled that you would appear before this committee with all of this advance notice and not be prepared to answer these basic questions. This is one of the saddest appearances by an agency head that I have observed in now 16 years in the U.S. House of Representatives. Let me ask you this. You posted a fact response back in October noting that there is no parole process under any of the CHNV parolee processes. How many CHNV aliens have had their parole expire and have not changed their immigration status?
So again, those are figures that not only require review of our systems at USCIS,
That you've had
but this
since
is a joint
September and were
program
told
with
to be asked. Let
CBP.
me ask again. For aliens who are not re-paroled, does their employment authorization terminate immediately upon the expiration of their parole?
Employment authorization was granted for the period of parole. So if that parole period ends, so would the employment authorization document.
Well, why would an alien who has no legal means of being in the U.S. still be able to work legally in the U.S.?
The employment authorization document is tied very directly to the end period of the parole.
What's the largest number of aliens that one supporter has sponsored between October 2022 and present?
Again, another question that I tried to get answered by today, but unfortunately it requires more work and not just work at USCIS.
Well, let me ask you this. What percentage of your workforce is still working at home?
I don't have the answer to that, but what I can say with regard to
What do you mean you
remote
can't
work.
answer that question? That's another fundamental basic question of administration. How many of your employees are still working at home?
I don't have that answer with me, but I can get it for you. That is definitely. But what I can say is that USCIS has never been more efficient than it is today, and has never been more secure
Your appearance
and
here
more
today,
full of integrity
your
than it is
appearance
today.
here today totally contradicts that conclusion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, thank you for being here. The CHNV program was paused for about 5 weeks earlier this year because of rampant fraud. And we have supporters that were using all kinds of, in their applications, all kinds of misinformation and fraud. So I just want to cover a few of these real quickly. Do you agree that the same Social Security number was used on at least 20 different CHNV supporter applications?
So first, let me start by saying
So these are yes/no questions. So yes or no?
I just want to make clear that the role that USCIS plays is on the supporter side.
And I'm asking about supporter applications.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that question then? I heard it as the parolee.
No, the same Social Security number was used on at least 20 different CHNV supporter applications. That's the question
Thank
I
you.
asked.
Sorry.
You're aware of that?
Yes, I am very aware
That
of,
happened at least 3,200 times.
I don't have the exact number
That's
in front
according
of
to
me.
DHS's report.
Okay, I
You
don't have
don't
the,
dispute DHS's report, do you?
no, I absolutely will not.
And also,
I will
the
not
same
dispute
phone
what's
number was
been
used on at
submitted in
least
writing.
20 different supporter applications, at least 3,300 times. That's according to the report. Do you agree that that report's accurate?
I don't have that report in front of me, but
I'm reading
I
from
won't
it.
dispute, yes, but I don't have it in front of me, and I would prefer.
So you would dispute it?
No, I'm not disputing. What I am
So
saying
you would
is-
deflect and ramble around. You don't disagree with that number. You don't think I'm deliberately cherry-picking number and just saying, oh, I'm just throwing this stuff out. I'm giving you the numbers from the report. Do you
And
trust me on that?
unfortunately-
Do you at least trust me that far?
Yes,
Okay, so then you
I
agree with that
am-
number. The same email address was used on at least 20 different supporter applications, nearly 2,000 times. You agree with that?
Sir, if there is a situation where we have
Okay, here,
concerns of fraud and integrity,
Look,
we take action at
I'm at-
USCIS, and that is exactly what we have done with regard to CHNV. Where we
Okay, so let's clarify here. So I'm laying foundation, and you don't really want to admit that there's this much rampant fraud here. You're trying to tell me that when you find fraud, we cure it. And yet nearly 2,000 times you had the same email address used on 20 different supporter applications. The same exact 184-word text response to a question on the supporter application was used on more than 1,800 such applications by nearly 190 different CHNV supporters. More than 460 non-existent zip codes were used on supporter applications on behalf of more than 2,800 CHNV aliens. So you see, you can dance around and say you don't have the report in front of you and whatnot, but these are the facts. This program is rife with fraud. As of August 6, 2024, DHS had approved more than 80,000 CHNV supporters who were in the U.S. on a temporary basis. I'm going to give you some numbers. 224 CHNV parolees approved as CHNV supporters. That seems awkward. 170 additional parolees, non-CHNV, approved as CHNV supporters. 28,322 temporary protected status holders approved as CHNV supporters. 19,865 SLEs approved as CHNV supporters. 311 DACA recipients approved as CHNV supporters. 1,300 plus aliens in the U.S. on temporary visas approved as CHNV supporters. 64 refugees approved as CHNV supporters. 1,912 conditional permanent residents approved as CHNV supporters. That is the program that you are administering. That's the section that you're administering. That's the supporters. I'm not talking the aliens. I'm not getting into the violation of law of the U.S. Code 1182 when the use of parole is supposed to be on a case-by-case basis, where Secretary Mayorkas himself has sat here and under oath said it's supposed to be on a case-by-case basis. I'm not getting into that. What I'm getting into is a program the side that USCIS is supposed to actually administer, and that is the supporter applications. And the fraud was so rampant, you closed down the program. But you didn't fix it. It's still ongoing. We're waiting for the next report to confirm that these things are still going on because it wasn't fixed. Mr. Chairman, my time's up. I'll yield back.
Thank you. Thank you again, Director Jadot, for being here. And as you just said, and as I mentioned in my opening statement, you and the hardworking staff at USCIS have done extraordinary work in getting the agency back on track from what it was handed to you as by the Trump administration. Somehow, in fiscal year 2023, you completed a record number of more than 10 million pending cases while constantly having unexpected issues thrown your way. And you processed nearly 200,000 employment-based green card applications, which is almost 40% more than normal. And you ensured that none went unused and were therefore wasted, as happened in the previous administration. So tell me, when you began as director, what were some of the biggest challenges that the agency faced? What was the primary cause of those challenges, and what did you do to address them?
Thank you for the question. As you know, USCIS, our primary responsibility is upholding and administering the legal immigration system for the nation. We take pride in that. We take pride in doing it in timely ways, with fairness, and with integrity. And security always top of mind. So we were so proud to take this agency from a place where a fiscal crisis, just coming out of a 2020 fiscal crisis, and we were able to restabilize it financially. We were able to remove a hiring freeze that was required to recoup the money that we needed to protect the agency and move forward. We've invested in technology, we've invested in people. We are now 22,500 strong, and just before that, we were under 19,000. This was no way to run a legal immigration system. When our legal immigration system is strong, so is our economy, so are our families who are wishing to reunite with their spouses and children, and so are our humanitarian values, and the security integrity we have in the legal immigration is strong as well. I am proud that USCIS has achieved those over these last 4 years.
So you inherited an agency that was in a fiscal hole, that had a hiring freeze, that had not enough staff, and wasn't processing any applications, and you turned it around substantially. Over the past several years, the types of individuals that have been appearing at our southern border has shifted from primarily immigrants from Latin America to individuals around the globe of various ages and education levels, some with advanced degrees. Do you think that our outdated immigration system and the fact that visa categories for individuals in specialty occupations and with exceptional abilities are severely oversubscribed contributed to that shift of what we're seeing, who we're seeing showing up on the border, that in short, our legal immigration system is not working to facilitate our ability to bring in the talent that we need?
Thank you. That's a really important question. Immigrants have played a vital role in our economic recovery. They have played it in all sectors of our economy, from the high skill to the low skill to everything in between. We do not have effective legal immigration systems to meet the needs of the nation, and that has shown up in each one of our processes at USCIS.
Well, it's been 30 years since most of these things have been adjusted, so we're still working off of 30-year-old caps in some cases and programs that haven't been updated. You don't set immigration policy, obviously, as director of USCIS, but you certainly see the law's real-life impact in the cases that your agency adjudicates. Are there reforms that you would recommend to help USCIS better fulfill its mandate?
Yes, thank you. That's really helpful, and thank you for asking that question. Number one, USCIS has been a primarily fee-funded agency since it began. Yeah. Today, it's 96% fee-funded. So that leaves us at what we can do based upon what we can charge people who pay for other benefits. So that limits the work we can do. For example, on our work at the border, we only can hire so many asylum officers to do the work we do so well alongside with our partners at Customs and Border Protection. It limits us in our humanitarian work, and it also closes off avenues for us to grow our technology and our processes. So that's the first. The second, I would very much welcome and suggest that we, once and for all, make DACA recipients the Americans they should be. And three, our agricultural community, we need to be sure that our food industry is strong, and many immigrants support us in our food industry, and we need to make that clear for this nation.
Thank you, Director. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
You know, the President-elect has said he's going to put in place a Department of Government Efficiency. I think both sides would like to see the government always be more efficient. On your side, will there be a movement, or are you looking at a way to completely digitize the process for applicants? I know right now it still is very dependent on paper filings. Is that something that could reduce just your workload and also more expeditiously process applicants?
Again, a question I get really excited about. We have grown leaps and bounds in using our technology to help us better process and become more efficient, but also smarter and have more security, more integrity in our systems. Instituting technology throughout our process is the number one thing that we can do to make us work smarter, faster, and safer for the American people. And that's what we're doing.
Great. Thank you, Director. I also just want to point out to my colleagues, census data last week noted that my congressional district is the 8th wealthiest congressional district in the United States. I'm not doing much to contribute to that number, but many of my constituents are. And that reflects that 40% of my constituents were born outside of the United States. They come largely from places like India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, China, Korea, Philippines, and they reflect the best of our community, and they reflect a resilient mindset that has grown our local economy. And I'll just leave my colleagues with this. Recently, a foreign minister of another country told me the population of the United States is 3 billion people. And I thought that he had misspoken. And I said, actually, sir, it's closer to somewhere between 300 and 400 million. And he said, no, you have 3 billion people in the world who will give up anything to come to the United States. And if you all can figure out a way to get it right, you can take the cream of the crop to help your economy. And I hope we can work in the next Congress to try and make that happen. I yield back.
The gentleman has put his finger on exactly the problem that we face. Mr. Nails.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Eric, you mentioned just a minute ago about a large, your district is a lot of migrants, 40% in Pakistan, and I'm going to make a safe assumption. Most of those individuals, it probably took them a decade or so to get here, and they did it through the legal channel. I think in the beginning of your talk, you talked about, we got to get these bad hombres out of here, the ones that are committing crime. Do you think the director would agree with you on that?
If the gentleman will yield.
Sure.
I'll let the director speak for herself, but I will just say I am in agreement with you that I want to bring down those processing times, and I want the bad guys gone.